I married Haruko Nam at the age of 29. Up until now, I had always thought that a typical Japanese family had to keep their distance and live with formality. But when I entered my wife's house in the suburbs of Kyoto, what moved me the most was not my wife, but her mother, Mrs. Mizuki. The woman was over 40, but had a soft appearance, a gentle honey glow, and always carried a faint scent of plum blossoms. I don't know when, but every time I saw her walk across the porch, carrying the blue Norin to enter the kitchen, my heart would beat strangely. It wasn't love, nor was it lust. It was just a wish that she would care for me a little more, like a mother I had never seen. But the confusion between the desire to be cared for and other vague emotions led me to step into a dangerous boundary. It all started that winter. Snow covered the Higashiyama neighborhood, and the wind from the Kamo River blew so cold that just opening the door made me shiver. Haruko worked non-stop, barely coming home. I came home from work to find the house quiet. The sound of the wind blowing through the roof made me feel even more lonely. Only Mrs. Mizuki occasionally stopped by, carrying a bento box or a pot of sencha tea. Every time she put her hand on my shoulder and asked, "Are you noisy, Kenji?" my chest felt tight. Her gentleness made me feel more comfortable, but at the same time, it also made me weak in a way I didn't understand. I began to long for her to appear more often, longing to hear her deep, soft voice in the cold house. One evening when she came with food, I foolishly said, "I wish Mom would pay more attention to me." She stopped. Her eyes were gentle, but a little scared. I realized that those words were beyond my control, but at that moment I just felt sad and lonely. From that day on, Mrs. Mizuki kept her distance. She no longer stopped by unexpectedly. She no longer left bento on the table. She only sent a short, kind message. "Be stronger. I believe in you." That distance made me realize I had been looking to her as a spiritual support, but instead she had to defend herself. I felt terrible about myself. But my heart did not listen to reason. Every time I passed by my wife's parents' house, seeing that lantern hanging in front of the door, swaying gently in the wind, I remember the peaceful feeling when she asked me how I was. I wanted her to care for me. I wanted her to be gentle with me. I wanted her to look at me more. A desire that was not physical, but the desire to be loved. Then one late winter, Haruka came home and said she was going to be transferred for work for 3 months. I was silent. My wife was gone, which meant the house was empty again. That evening, Mrs. Mizuki called me over for dinner. When I walked in, the traditional kitchen with its small charcoal stove gave off a warm scent that soothed my mind. The smell of miso wafted up. Mrs. Mizuki sat opposite, her slender hands gently folding the mackerel for me. The more I looked at her, the more the emotions that had been suppressed for so long wanted to burst out. I said unconsciously, "Your mother just wants you to care for her." "You're lost." She paused. Then she put down her chopsticks and took my hand. The first time she'd ever done that. "Kenji, you're not wrong to feel lonely, but you're mistaking the person you need. Your wife, not me. My love for you is the last line of our family." Her hands were damp, but her words swept through like a winter wind. I lowered my head, realizing I had gone too far. Not because I wanted something bad, but because my heart was too weak. She continued, her voice so soft it made me choke. "If I let you rely on me more, I'll hurt myself. Don't make a mother bear the loneliness of her daughter." That night when I left my in-law's house, snow fell heavily on the stone-paved road. I stood under the red torii in front of the shrine near my house and let out a long sigh. I realized I had set the wrong expectations. I needed to heal myself, not rely on the love of someone who was trying to keep this family together. 3 months later, Haruka returned. We talked more, shared more. As for me, every time I met my mother-in-law, I just bowed my head in greeting with silent gratitude. Mrs. Mizuki was still as gentle as before, but the distance had been reestablished, gentle safe, with the necessary boundaries. And I understood that. There are feelings that don't need to be named. I just need to know that I am sober enough not to turn loneliness into a mistake. I used to expect my mother-in-law to pamper me, but in the end, I learned an important lesson. Sometimes what I really need is not pampering, but maturity after a snowy night in Kyoto. I thought that everything between my mother-in-law and I would end with that meaningful silence, but it turns out that silence sometimes doesn't calm emotions. It just makes them deeper, sink in, and turn into something harder to separate. When Haruka returned from her 3-month business trip, the house was bright and sunny. The sound of footsteps on the wooden stairs made me feel like spring had truly arrived. But I was no longer the same person I was 3 months ago. I learned to hide my loneliness, not to expect anyone to make up for it. Though sometimes my heart ached. I remember the moment when Mizuki held my hand and talked about family boundaries. Haruka was cheerful and lively, talking about all sorts of things at work. But I noticed that I had become more reserved. Every time she hugged me, I felt regret for my previous misguided feelings. I wanted to make it up to my wife, but I didn't know where to start. One evening, right in the cherry blossom season, the whole family was invited to a hanami ceremony at Maruyama Garden. Under the sakura branches falling like snow, I saw my mother-in-law for the first time after months of keeping my distance. She wore a light blue kimono, her hair tied up high, her face as calm as the surface of Lake Biwa. In the morning, my heart trembled slightly, no longer with excitement, but with gratitude and a little shyness. She just nodded, smiling very lightly, as if nothing had happened. But it was that never happened that made me feel uneasy. While Haruka was busy taking pictures with her friends, I stood a few steps away from her, under a large sakura tree. The petals fell on her shoulders so lightly that it seemed like time had stopped. She looked up at the sky, then at me. When he died, she didn't blame the tree, nor did she avoid the split. There was only peace and maturity, like someone who knew what to keep and what to let go. Suddenly, I said in a small voice, "I'm sorry, Ma, 'cause I was so weak before." She was a little surprised, then sighed softly. "Kenji, everyone has their moments of weakness. The important thing is that you stopped at the right time." I raised my head. "I used to wish you cared more. But now I understand I need to be strong. To stand on your own instead of relying on your mother." She smiled a smile she rarely showed, gentle and a little proud. "Then I'm very happy, because that proves you've really grown up." At that moment, for the first time, I felt a mother-child love without meaning or ambiguity. No more disorientation, no more false expectations. Just love, pure and safe. But life is never peaceful. For long after, the Hanami Haruka started to distance herself from me. She didn't talk much, nor did she hold my hand anymore. Alone as we sat in the living room, the yellow light reflecting off the picture frames on the wall, she said bluntly, "Kenji, in the 3 months I've been gone, is there anything you've hidden from me?" I have goosebumps now. "Nothing at all." Haruka looked deep into my eyes. A look that made me feel like I was being scrutinized. "I don't know why, but between you and my mother, there's something strange. It's not that the feelings are wrong. It's that you seem to be too dependent on her." "I'm Harry," Haruka continued, her voice trembling slightly. "I feel like you need my mom more than you need me." I wanted to object, but couldn't say it. That sentence was like a knife cutting into the fear I was hiding. Haruka stood up and whispered, "I don't blame you. I just hope you're honest with yourself. If you still look at your mother that way, otherwise I will hurt you forever." That night, I sat alone for a long time. The porch light was still on, and a breeze blew through the paper curtains. I realized that my story was not over. I had survived once, but the traces remained. And if I did not face it, it would continue to haunt me and hurt my family. I know it's time to have a good talk with my mother-in-law. One last time.